So we'll bring you that soundbite from the Director of Legal at WAEC shortly. But let me bring in Ian, the Head of Corporate Affairs at WAEC, John Kapi, and he joins me via Zoom with more. We also have Dr. Peter Anti, the Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. Mr. Kapi, good afternoon and welcome to the Pulse.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
How interesting is it that mostly when I have to engage you, it's always on Fridays?
Well, it means that we are preparing ourselves to talk and then we can go and have some rest.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But there won't be enough rest for you because Monday you've got a big task for you. Organization, the rolling out of the BECE examination. I guess everything is well and good ahead of Monday.
Yeah, so far we are very well prepared. We started dispatching our personnel and materials yesterday, the 4th of July. We continued this morning. Some others will also be departing tomorrow, tomorrow Saturday. So I would say that we are on course, and come Monday, the exams will take off in earnest.
Any idea how many students are writing this BECE?
This year we have 569,095 candidates who have registered to write. That is the school exam. And we have 1,366 candidates who have registered to write the BECE for private candidates.
So that means that in terms of government commitment to the exam, even though we know that government has not fully paid every money it owes WAEC, what you have now is enough for you to have it smooth.
Absolutely. We have received this morning. I indicated in the news, the press briefing, that we received 55.8 million. And that is enough for us to be able to conduct the examination. I also indicated that there are plans for the government to release further funds in order that right after examinations we're able to pay our vigilator supervisors and also be able to process and release the results.
And you are convinced that government will live up to expectation?
Well, it's not for me to say, but I believe that with the commitment that has been shown, obviously, yes, I believe that government will keep to their word and release the funds when we actually need them.
And quite worrying is the revelation that students writing BECE in time past, maybe going back to just last year, and what you disclosed to the media that some resorted to, pleading with the examiners to have mercy on them, some actually leaving money in their answer booklets in a way to influence the examiners, and some even leaving their numbers and the numbers of their parents for the examiners to call them. This obviously should have been coming from children, if you like.
Yeah, it's a very worrying development. Previously, we had situations of this nature, but then it had to do mainly with candidates who sat for the WAEC for private candidates. These were adults. Some of them may not have been the regular school system and so on. But for it to trickle down to the level, the BECE level, that's a very worrying development. And that is why we are putting it out there. Even more worrying is the fact that the child is bold enough to provide for us a phone number of a parent or a guardian, instructing the examiner to call the parent, and any amount at all that is mentioned, the parent will be ready to pay and all of that. It does not give any signal that our children are willing to do straightforward work or honest work in order to get the results and be able to go ahead with their educational cycle.
And so the examiners reported this to you?
Yes, the examiners, usually when we are marking, we provide forms for them to report any form of irregularity. So if, for example, there's collusion, if there's any form, let's say the use of AI, and then any other, I indicated that the insertion of money or writing there asking for help and that kind of thing, these are all punishable offenses. And so it's the examiners who report these things to us.
And how widespread is this?
I would not say that it is, I would not be able to give percentages because we actually have not taken the time, to look at the prevalence rate. But all we can say is that yes, the number is increasing by the year.
And so, what happens to such students, those who attempted to bribe, either with their numbers and money and other inducements? What happened to them?
So for those people who, solicit external assistance, there is what do you call it, a penalty for that. You could have the subject results cancelled at the end of the day.
And have they suffered that punishment?
Oh yes, some of them have suffered the penalty, but of course, it's after we've engaged with the candidates that would take the decision either to cancel or probably to release, depending on whatever response that we get from them. But yes, we have had some people punished because of this particular offense.
Mr. Kapi, I'll come back to you to talk about the do's and don'ts as we look forward to Monday. But let me bring in Dr. Peter Ante, Executive Director, Institute for Education Studies. Dr. Ante, this is quite surprising for me, if you like. These are 13, 14-year-olds. They've developed the habit of inducing people to give them better grades. They are leaving their numbers, they are leaving their parents' numbers, they included money in their answer booklet. This is strange. I don't know what your initial thoughts will be on this matter.
Yeah, yeah, good afternoon. I agree with you. It's quite an unfortunate situation. I have had an experience before where an examiner confided in me that this is what he has seen in a WAEC paper. I think the person was marking core mathematics. So it's not surprising to me, but it's very worrying that these are children. If you go in by our normal school age distribution, these are children who technically will not be more than 18 years.
Right.
And they having that idea to go ahead and do this kind of activity is very worrying. And I think this is something that the whole country should take note of. In fact, we are having a breakdown of our value system and principles that that we need to pay critical attention to. And this should be a wake-up call to all of us.
But is it a case that the students are not studying well, or it is just the breakdown of discipline in the Ghanaian society, to the extent that 13-year-olds can now decide that instead of going to the honest route, there's a shortcut, because that's what society is teaching us?
Yeah, it could be a multiplication of other factors, and I think that if you are looking at examination malpractice in general, this is the third form of examination malpractice. Normally, we are interested in the pre-exams, which is the leakage, or during the exams, which is the collusion and then the copying and then bringing in external materials. But the third type is highly experienced, and the third type is post-examination malpractice, and that is what we are experiencing now. As my senior brother said, they have had reports on, and this is where students try to influence the marking of the scripts. And for me, I think it's a whole lot of issues that can lead to this. The desire to attend one of the best schools in Ghana, the possibility to ensure that one does well, even at a point that we have treated BECE, or we have reclassified BECE to just help with placement. There seems to be that idea that we still need to get a better school, and the only way we'll be able to do that is to perform well. So if I am not prepared enough to write the exams, and I have a parent who is so corrupt to aid me in passing, then I would put his name or his number there, or I'll put some money in there, and I'm thinking that there will be a corrupt examiner who would also look at it and be influenced by that 10 cities or by that phone number to call us and then proceed to help us. That is the highest form of corruption that you can have in a society. And I think that we really need to take a very serious look at this. Then
what kind of society are we raising with these kids when they are actually taught moral studies during their studies in school?
You see, recently I was asking whether BEC is designed in a way to measure the competencies even in the common core program or curriculum that we have. BEC is designed in a way that they are going to measure critical thinking and other things. But when it comes to the value system, the socio-emotional learning abilities of the child, we do not pay particular attention to it, because at the end of the day, we just want the student to score 1, and we are all happy. That is what makes us happy. Right. We are not interested in the moral development of the child. And even when we develop a curriculum to improve on the moral aspect, the socio-emotional aspect, we are still not able to push it to the latter, because at the end of the day, it is the cognitive that takes control over the assessment procedure. So I think that we have a lot to do about how we are developing our case, especially at that level, because if we are not able to get them at that particular level, then it means that the future is very, very doomed for all of us when we are retiring and waiting for the Lord to call us. These are the people who are going to take control of the country. And if they are thinking this way at this level, then we can just imagine what they can do 10, 20 years to come.
Dr. Tanti, one more question so that I can go back to Mr. Kapi on the do's and don'ts ahead of Monday. Now, according to Mr. John Kapi, some of them had their entire results cancelled, and I'm asking whether this punishment is enough or too severe. Don't they need rather help instead of truncating their education at that level with the cancellation of their results?
Well, I think it depends on the interaction that happened during the investigation period. I am not privy to what the report was after the investigation, but if it is clear that this is what the person has done, I think the punishment fits perfectly. Whereas there might be additional processes to reform the child. I think that cancelling or withholding the student's results after a thorough investigation is in order.
Mr. John Kapi, I know that Monday you've designated places for the examination to take place. I'm wondering the role parents and teachers can play during the examination period. Are they supposed to play any role? Can they hang around? What are some of the do's and don'ts as we look forward to Monday?
Right, so we have about 2,123 centers across the country where these exams will be written. We have provided also adequate security wherever the exams are going to be written. So parents and teachers, as much as possible, can ensure that the children arrive safely at the examination centers. That is all that we expect of them. Afterwards, they would have to leave them there. The supervisors are there. There will be police security. We have national security. We have NIB around, so that the children are taken very good care of until the exams are over, and then parents can pick them up back to their homes.
And then you are also clear that under no circumstances should a candidate take a mobile phone to the examination center.
Absolutely, because in this era of AI, we have indicated earlier in our earlier interactions that there have been situations where it's obvious that the candidates resorted to AI, and unfortunately, whatever information they got, they just put it there without even knowing whether it is relevant or not. And so the issue of mobile phones is a no-no. We also talk about any form of electronic communication device. We wouldn't want any such thing to be there. Candidates should, as much as possible, desist from carrying any form of material relevant to the examination on them. And then also there is this situation where sometimes after the examination, I don't know exactly why, but some candidates do not want to submit their scripts. So we expect that the candidates after the paper will submit their scripts.
After writing the exam, the candidate doesn't want to submit the script.
Yeah, we've had situations where some of them have, put their scripts in their shirts and, are prepared to leave the examination hall.
Perhaps the person gives the conclusion that he or she didn't do well, and for that reason, there was no need to waste the examiner's time.
Well, that's that's a possibility, but we're yet to actually go into details to find out exactly why a candidate who has boldly walked into an examination hall would write and wouldn't want to submit their script, after the examination.
And in that circumstance, there's nothing you can do about it.
Say it again.
In that circumstance, there's nothing WAEC can do about it when the candidate himself says that I will not submit my paper to you.
No, we actually do not allow that. The invigilators would say, because if, for example, I'm an invigilator in a room of about 30 candidates, it's expected that I would receive 30 scripts back. So if I don't get a 30, I'll look for the remaining ones. And usually the candidates are only allowed out of the hall after all the scripts have been received. So that's why we detected that there were some who slotted their scripts into their shirts and were willing to, leave the hall with them.
And that brings me to the question of some other materials that will aid in the absence of a mobile phone. That is smartwatch. Smartwatch can do virtually what mobile phone does. You are banning
Absolutely.
mobile phone. Are you banning smartwatches as well?
Yes, we are banning smartwatches. It's a tall list. We could not bring it all out there, but we have it in our do's and don'ts. Any programmable calculator, even at BECE, we don't allow calculators in there. So any smartwatch, any form of electronic communication device is not allowed in the examination hall.
As we are talking, someone just sent me a text and then the person is asking, can WAEC be a bit lenient with these students who, in their attempt to get good grades, will want to find other means rather than the amnesty route? And the person is saying that, for example, if somebody included in his or her booklet 100 Ghana or 50 Ghana cedis, shouldn't that person be helped through counseling rather than having his or her entire results cancelled?
Well, what is the intent of anybody who puts money into their answer booklet? Obviously, to find any other means apart from an honest way of getting their grades. All right. So I think that there should be a way by which we correct some of these things. If a child at this stage I think that Dr. Enti mentioned that very clearly. If at this age we're already thinking about soliciting support and not following the right path to get something, I believe that we should find ways of letting these people, get some form of correction. We have reported these situations to the Ghana Education Service, and in our interactions with our candidates, we have also talked about that. We have tried to convince them that they can certainly pass the examination without resorting to some of these shortcuts. So I think that a lot has been done to encourage these candidates to go out there and do independent work, and they certainly can pass.
All right. Mr. John Kapi, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And I wish you the very best on Monday. Let me cross over to Dr. Peter Anti. So, Dr. Anti, Monday is a day for the BECE. According to Mr. John Kapi, even though they told government if you are unable to provide all the financial resources, they were not going to organize the exam. Government paid 55 million out of the almost 100 million Ghana cedis. According to Mr. John Kapi, they are going to Monday with some outstanding money. What's your expectation? What do we expect that government should do? I mean, I don't see a lot of urgency being attached to this matter.
Anna, it's promised government should release the needed amounts. The challenge that is likely to occur is that they have been given some amounts and therefore they can go ahead with the exams. But sometimes the problem is with the payment of the assistant examiners and the examiners, and it delays. And when it delays, and we are talking about students finding ways and means to influence the examiner, then you know what is likely to happen. So government should also look at this and release the amount of money that WAEC needs so that they will be able to pay the examiners also, so that they'll be able to pay the supervisors and the invigilators. When the money goes to them in time, then we are certain that external influences might not be able to have an effect on them. But when people are marking scripts and sometimes they have to wait for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months before they are paid, and you have a note in there that is suggesting that you are going to be given a certain amount of money, you might be tempted to go that way, and that will not go well for all of us. So government should do well and release all the amount of money that they need, because it's a commitment that the government says it will do. So if you are committed to it, and you know that by the plan of WAEC, this is the period that they are supposed to write the exams, why do you have to wait till this time and then the back and forth and sometimes the uncertainties and other things? I think that government can do better and should do better in that respect.
And what's your expectation of WAEC as we embark on this ritual starting Monday? And perhaps this may be the last BECE exams. That is, if the bill that is seeking to give legal backing to the free SHS goes through, because the government will now do away with BECE, when the bill becomes law. What will be your expectation ahead of Monday on the part of WAEC?
Before that, as for the bill, we would have to deal with it, because we will not allow the system to be treated this way. None of us have seen it, not the teacher unions, no stakeholder have seen it, and we don't and will not allow the system to be treated this way. The education of the country is for all of us, and we all have to make contributions to any kind of bill that is designed for our pre-tertiary education sector. We're hoping that WAEC would continue to do the good work that they are doing. We're hoping that we're not going to experience any form of leakages during the week. And we think that, and I must commend my senior brother, because since he took over, he's been proactive with the public.
Exactly.
I said last year that he was the first to come out to say that this is the challenge that we are facing in terms of examination malpractice. And when WAEC comes out to talk about it, then it becomes like we all want solutions to it.
Right.
But previously, it was like we coming out and then WAEC will be defending. And I like his approach, and I want to commend him for that. So they should continue to do the good work, find ways and means to protect the sanctity and the authenticity of the exams that the students are going to write. And by Friday, or by the time they finish with the exams, we will all be happy, and the case will also be happy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Anti. He watched this space very carefully, and this place is his expertise. Thank you so much. But let me stay with WAEC a little longer before we move on from the educational front. The head of legal affairs at the West African Examination Council, Victor Brew, is also indicating that 4 candidates from last year's examination, they've been convicted.
A caution to all candidates and all examination officials, invigilators, supervisors, even security personnel, drivers, all involved in this year's BECE examinations. The caution is that please focus on your work professionally, do your work as your contribution to nation building, and know that once you abide by the rules and regulations governing your portion of the work that will make this year's BECE conducted smoothly, you are in good business. But then the caution is that anything short of this will land you at the wrong side of the law. You can be assured that from the police through NIB to other national security personnel, the council is poised, wide awake, to apprehend and make sure that you are prosecuted if you are found culpable in terms of doing anything that will, draw down the integrity of this year's BECE.
Mr. Brew, can you run us down through the figures that you have, the cases that you had from 2023? Were they related to only BECE, or the WAEC was part of it? How many have been convicted, and how many cases are still under investigations?
Right. Surely we have some cases from the WAEC, but for purposes of this media briefing, I would like for us to focus on the BECE. And right from 2023, as we indicated earlier, we have had 19 cases recorded. Now, recorded does not mean that there were only 19, incidents. But to say that out of all the incidents, the ones that were seen to have been legally ripe for investigation, further investigations, and for the court processes to be triggered, were 19 recorded. Now, out of it, a total number of 13 still under investigations, as I said, because then, the police will have to do their work and make sure that From their perspective, what we call a prima facie case has been made, and that all the evidence, relevant evidence, are well documented for prosecution. But to say that, I'm glad to say that 6 of these cases are in court, wherefore, in terms of those who were found or suspected to have been involved in examination malpractice, 4 have been convicted and 2 hearings are ongoing. Yes, as of 4 July 2024.